Hi, my name is Zen Cartwright, and I will be talking about rising water levels due to global warming for our group.
The entire world is slowly drowning, and we are to blame. Places we know and love, such as Venice, Italy, and New Orleans, are expected to be underwater by 2030. Awareness about the causes of this issue and how it works are very important to help us work together to find solutions. After having done thorough research on this specific problem and having geology and ecology majors in our group, we will explain to you why and how these places are expected to drown. Every year, global water levels are recorded to have risen. This happening year over year can build up to some catastrophic results. Water levels rising is one of the global issues that are caused by climate change. According to an online article from the United Nations, climate change refers to a long-term shift in climate. The change in climate that we are currently experiencing human activities, mostly fossil fuel use. Burning fossil fuels releases carbon dioxide, a potent greenhouse gas. When too many greenhouse gases are trapped in our atmosphere, they trap too much of the sun's heat, causing global temperatures to rise. This phenomenon is called the greenhouse effect, and for good reason, because it acts exactly like a greenhouse. Think of how a greenhouse is used to grow plants. It's more warm and humid on the inside due to the insulation of the structure. This causes many issues such as extreme weather, habitat loss, and rising water levels. What are rising water levels? The level of water in any body of water is never constant. Its average change over long periods of time can be recorded and measured. Rising water levels mean that these recordings have found that all around the globe, the water level has been increasing every year. According to a 2022 journal article by Lindsay, the global average sea level has increased by 8 to 9 inches since 1880, and the average for ocean water level has increased by 0.14 inches every year since 2006 to 2015.
What is causing this huge rise in water levels? It is mostly due to two things.
That has melted from glaciers and ice sheets, and the thermal expansion of seawater as it warms. Both of these causes are occurring because of what we mentioned earlier, climate change. First, let's look at ice. As we mentioned earlier, climate change is causing an increase in global temperatures. As it gets hotter, ice will melt into water. Glaciers and ice sheets have ice that wasn't originally in a body of water, and once it melts and flows into bodies of water, the water level rises. Second, thermal expansion.
Although that may sound complicated, it is exactly what it says.
Things hot. The increase in temperature that the globe is experiencing is not very high, but when combined with the sheer size of oceans and large bodies of water, it adds up to a noticeable increase in water levels. Now, why does it matter that the water level is increasing? Can less than an inch of increase per year really have an impact? It absolutely does. Local businesses are damaged and lose customers due to flooding that can occur with these rising sea levels and storms. Infrastructure vital to jobs and industries like roads, subways, sewers, and landfills will be flooded and shut down more often in these coastal areas due to the rising water levels. The previously mentioned article by Lindsay also says that 30% of the United States population alone lives in coastal areas, and 8 out of 10 of the world's largest cities are also on coasts. These are the people most at risk for such disasters that occur more frequently rising water levels. Floods called nuisance flooding have been occurring more often near coasts as well. These floods occur at high tide and are not always immediately dangerous to human life, but can be very destructive to infrastructure and very expensive to recover from. Rising water levels are not the only impact of glaciers melting. The flooding also causes freshwater areas to be contaminated with salt water. Aquifers that sustain agriculture and small bodies of water important to the survival of species in the area are both negatively affected by this flooding that is becoming more regular. Inversely, saltwater areas are getting contaminated with fresh water. There exists in the Atlantic Ocean a conveyor belt of sorts that brings warm ocean up towards the poles and cold water down towards the tropics.
The Gulf Stream is responsible for the climate of many northern countries being warmer than they should be given their latitude, such as Great Britain. Though The Greenland glaciers have been melting and pouring fresh water directly into the Gulf Stream, in an area where the water desperately needs to have higher salinity.
The fresher water now has a harder time sinking, slowing down the movement of water to and from the poles. Eventually, this could kill off the Gulf Stream entirely, which will have an impact on the climates of nations that rely on it, as well as having an impact comparable to greenhouse gases on the temperature of the world as a whole. Clearly, this issue is one that is shared by the entire globe, and its consequences are affecting everyone. Climate change is causing this increase in water levels everywhere, which is destroying both the human and natural environments. It is a rapidly growing issue, with its devastating effects looming closer and closer by the day. The situation we have is a grim one, with severe effects that are only clearly visible to those affected. If we do not work on protecting ourselves now, the future will be in dire straits. We have nothing to gain and everything to lose.